we'll get started with our board chair, Sanjay Ram. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Good afternoon, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sanjay Ram, Chairman of the Metro Board of Directors, and I'm joined here by my fellow board members, Dr. Lex Frieden, Diane Luder, and Board Secretary Troy Taylor. And, of course, Metro's President and CEO, Tom Lambert. I want to begin by thanking and acknowledging the tremendous support of Houston's Mayor Sylvester Turner, our members of Congress, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, and Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia. We're also joined here this afternoon by staff members from offices of other elected officials, but before I get there, I want to recognize Council Member David Robinson. From the office of Senator John Cornyn, Jay Guerrero. From the office of Senator Ted Cruz, Jason Fuller. From Congressman Dan Crenshaw's office, John McCarthy. From State Senator Carol Alvarado's office, Jacob Ayers. And from State Senator Morris Miles' office, Justin Concepcion. From State Representative Mary Ann Perez's office, Matthew Giles. And from Congressman Al Green's office, Sam Merchant. Thank you all so much for your support and efforts as we implement the plan for a more environmentally sustainable transit system. Earlier in 2022, Metro adopted its Climate Action Plan. The Climate Action Committee was co-chaired by my board colleague, Teresa Morales, and board member, Chris Hollins. We are on a quest to move, or continue to move, from clean diesel and CNG buses to a 100% no-emission bus fleet. So the Climate Action Plan calls for a purchase of no-emission buses only no-emission buses by the year 2030. We want to thank Secretary Pete Buttigieg and the Federal Transit Administrator Nuria Fernandez and the FDA for this $21.6 million grant. This grant will help Metro double our initial purchase of 20 full-size electric buses to a fleet of 40 buses. Earlier in 2022, the board approved the purchase of 20 full-size electric buses and 10 paratransit vans, thanks to funding from our partners in the Houston-Galveston Area Council. Within the next year, you will see electric buses across the energy capital of the world as we continue our energy transition. The purchase of these buses is just the first step. Our sustainability vision statement calls for a series of investments. We're looking at other technologies, including hydrogen fuel cells as a propulsion system for buses. It's important for us to eliminate emissions for our entire bus fleet, but also for our non-revenue vehicles. Pre-pandemic, Metro was giving almost 135 million rides a day. So what does that do? Every time you take somebody and put them on a bus or a train, that is one less car on our roads and highways, which means we're already reducing greenhouse gas emissions on a daily basis. But when we do this, we will make a significant dent into whatever other emissions that are going into the environment. We want to be part of the solution and help improve air quality across our region, but particularly in those neighborhoods that have been historically disadvantaged, often suffering from other harmful environmental impacts. We also want to improve the experience for our riders and for our customers. Our CEO talks about a better walk, a better stop, and a better ride, and these electric buses are a significant part of that better ride. This move towards environmentally friendly vehicles is also focused on equity and accessibility and supporting Mayor Turner's Complete Communities initiative. We want to transition our public transit system to be safe, reliable, frequent, equitable, and accessible. The FTA challenged transit organizations across the country to do their part for a healthy planet. And we are proud to say that we are taking bold action here in Houston to help reduce greenhouse gas emissions while improving transit for the region by implementing and delivering on the promises of MetroNext. Let me invite the chair of the U.S. Climate Mayors and the board chair of the Global Resilient Cities, but we call him our friendly Houston mayor, Mayor Sylvester Turner.
Let me thank Sanjay Ram, the chair of the board of Metro, and to each one of these board members who's doing an outstanding job. And then, of course, to Tom Lambert, who has been at the forefront of Metro for a number of years. Please give it up to Metro in Let me acknowledge the members of our Congressional delegation. Appreciate the support and that we get from Congress, from both the U.S. House of Representatives as well as the United States Senate. And so let me thank them on behalf of the entire city of Houston and the region for what they are doing. Let me also acknowledge Councilmember David Robinson, who is also the chair of the Transportation Policy Council. So thank you so very much for your leadership. My director of the Mayor's Office with People with Disabilities, Angel Ponce, let me acknowledge you. Quite frankly, you need to be up here somewhere. Alexis is from our government relations team, works very closely. You need to follow Angel. But the point is that I want to make is that it takes a collective effort. The city of Houston County last week and this week, we've had 2 pretty good weeks. And I want to thank Congress for making that happen. Last week we announced $21 million the Grace Grant for Telephone Road. Congressman Garcia, and I want to thank you on that and the members of Congress. And of course today, this announcement of another $21 million as well. And so Houston has done pretty good. This is a great day for the city of Houston Metro and all who ride public transit. Today's announcement is also significant following passage of the Inflation Reduction Act last week, which makes a historic commitment to fighting climate change. I currently chair a bipartisan organization on mayors across the country, known as Climate Mayors. The executive committee was just on a telephone conference call earlier today where we were discussing this particular announcement. As mayors, we're at the front lines of the climate crisis, doing what we can to move our communities and country closer to the Paris Agreement goals. The IRA will be an incredible boost to those efforts. The funding outlined in this bill will allow cities around the country to bolster their clean energy capacity, restore manufacturing jobs, lower energy costs, and address pollution in marginalized communities. Metro getting over $21 million for electric buses and charging equipment moves us closer to the goal in the Houston region. Sanjay, I can recall not too long ago, we were discussing how can we move things forward. Priya Zachariah, the Mayor's Office of Resilience and Sustainability, who's also been working on this initiative, and you need to find your way closer. Come on, Priya. We were just talking about how can we advance electric vehicles. Well, with the help of Congress, we're able to accelerate that and make it happen. Earlier this year, my office sent a letter to the U.S. Department of Transportation and Secretary Buttigieg in support of Metro's request for funding to purchase 20 electric vehicles. Some may recall that in 2020, the City of Houston released both our Resilient Houston Plan and Climate Action Plan, which outlined the city's goal to be net zero by 2050. As we know well from our climate impact assessment, nearly 50% of our greenhouse gas emissions is from the transportation sector. Metro's climate commitment aligned with the cities is a step in the right direction to help this region collectively accomplish that goal. This grant will enable Metro to double its battery electric bus fleet, advancing Metro's vision to bring all electric zero-emission buses to corridors serving many historically disadvantaged Houston communities that have been under-resourced and under-reserved. Not only do battery electric buses help in advancing our clean air initiative by reducing our greenhouse gas emissions, but it puts clean and affordable mobility within reach of so many of our communities, connecting them to jobs, education, healthcare locations. In short, connecting them to opportunity and prosperity. There is no better way to help advance both our sustainability, resilience, and equity goals. Lastly, I'm excited about what this next step represents. When I appointed Sanjay as chair, I told him I wanted to get the trains and buses moving in the right direction, and we are on the move. This big news has also been announced after Houston received $21 million from the U.S. Department of Transportation last week to help revitalize Telephone Road with wider sidewalks, bike lanes, and accessible bus stops. In 2021, Metro applied for this as a raised grant and did not receive funding. The feedback we got from DOT is that they had not been awarded because they had another funding source available, that they could make it happen in 2022, which is the low no emission grant that Metro successfully applied for and received. So this year, Metro applied for money in that bucket, leaving the city free to apply for our Telephone Road raised grant. We are happy to support Metro in this strategy, and I'm thrilled with the work that is being done by this board and by its executive team. Coordination is very important on matters like this. And who would thought that the city of Houston, the energy capital of the world, known so much for its cars and trucks, would now be moving forward with electric buses. The best for this city has yet to come, and as I told the U.S. climate mayors, in Houston, we don't just follow, we lead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Turner. You hit the nail on the head. We're really glad we could coordinate. So apparently this week, if there is a grant coming from the federal government, it's $21 million. Whether it's for low-no buses or for race grants, 21 is the magic number it looks like. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Please help me welcome to the podium a long-term supporter of Houston Metro, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson-Lee.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would say that we would want more 21s to come day after day after day after day with the word million behind it. Let me thank you for giving me the opportunity to join my colleagues and to affirm the leadership of our mayor. I have seen him in action as the chair of the Climate Committee of Mayors, and they are so engaged under his leadership. Let's give our mayor a very big round of applause. I'm delighted to be here with my collaborator, and when I say that, as we work in Congress, we find ways to be able to push not only for our districts, but for our community, for the city, for Harris County, and for the state. Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, who you will hear from very shortly. But let me take a moment to thank this enormous team. I don't know if I've had the chance to do so, and have worked with them, I must say, without any sense of qualifications for decades. Tom Lambert, let me acknowledge your leadership, and as I go down the list, I want to equally acknowledge our board members, but let me acknowledge you and your whole team. Thank you, Jerome, for having the outreach with your team, your deputy, to ensure that the message of Metro gets out, that the traveling public knows where the new bus stops are and the new bus shelters are. Thank you, Tom Jason, for working across the aisle and making sure that we all have the right information, and as well taking our mountains of concern and working through them. So thank you so very much. It's a delight to be here, of course, with Representatives Jason and Jay from both Senator Cruz and Senator Cornyn, because we have no divide when we take and get these federal funds. But the anchor of this board or this organization has always been the board. How exciting it is to meet with the chairman of the board in Washington. I call him Chairman Sanjay, who loves mobility and shows it, but does it by his deeds. Give him a very big hand. And I can't leave out our Secretary Troy Taylor, who smiles his way through mobility and doesn't take a back seat to helping our community, along with Diane Luter, and of course, the icon of making sure that persons with disabilities, the author, the writer of the American with Disabilities Act through George H.W. Bush, our own Lex Frieden. Let's give him a round. Thank you to our transit members and of course our council members, our chairman of the Transportation Committee, and all who have gathered here today. Let me clearly say that Joe Biden and all of us wanted to make sure that we had the capacity to bring federal dollars home through the bipartisan infrastructure, to the special programs that we now have. Take a moment to say that the Inflation Reduction Act that has a number of dollars on climate are going to match the work that is being done by Metro. And I just want to hold this up because I'm very proud. At the beginning of the year, this board put forward a climate action plan. Climate action plan. That's very unique. I think this board is one of the most unique transportation boards in the nation. Would you give them a very big hand and this agency? And so when the Inflation Reduction Act was passed, there are more money coming to help transit facilities be more not only efficient, but climate savvy. And Metro is prepared to get those dollars. So I'm very pleased to join them in announcing the first investment in energy efficient efforts through this $21.6 million in transportation grant funding for Metro. There are Metro plans to acquire another 20 buses through the funds from the Houston-Galveston Area Council that are federal funds. The enactment of the Inflation Reduction Act will add additional funding available for Houston Metro. Let me just share with you the excitement of what can come about. Nova buses, electric buses, have a battery capacity of 564 watts, range of 292 miles before needing a charge, dual charging flexibility, overhead and plug-in charging at the depot, and zero emissions with all electric accessories. That should draw an applause. Zero emissions will come from these very important buses. At the same time, they're going to go vastly over the city. Route 4, Beach Nut, Route 5, Southmore, and I hope the listening public will be excited about riding these buses. Route 25, Richmond, Route 28, OST and Wayside, Route 77, Homestead, and Route 418 on the jury shuttle to the Harris County Courthouse. I remember some years ago, we had green buses through the Midtown Management, and we had that monies through the U.S. Department of Transportation. Well, those green buses worked and got a little old. Now we have brand new buses that are going to replace them and make a difference. So again, let me congratulate this great opportunity of purchasing these buses. Let me send a clarion call out to all bus riders. Get ready for these spanking new buses, no gasoline stops, riding until you get to your destination, and helping the people with disabilities be disability ready so no one will be left out of the mode of transportation. What kind of city is this? Some will say, what a country. I'm going to say, what a city. The city of Houston and the Houston Metro Board working together to build a green community. Congratulations, and thank you to Secretary Buttigieg, who has a kind attitude toward Houston, Texas. I just want him to keep it up. Thank you to President Biden for your leadership as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Congresswoman. We look forward to continuing to work with your office, the Houston congressional delegations, and with our two senators. You're right, we are in line for a lot more of those 21s, but with what we're doing, the university BRT corridor, we would like for a couple of zeros to be added to the end of the 21 as well. So, we look forward to working with you.
Your wish is my command.
Yes, ma'am. Usually the other way around, so. Thank you so much for being here. Let me invite to the podium another long-term supporter of Houston's Metro Transit Agency, Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia. Thank you for being here.
You know, this is the fun part where we save the best for last. No, Mayor, I'm not getting hung up on 21. I just wish the both of us were still 21. You know, as I look towards my birthday, which is coming up after Labor Day weekend, I was visiting earlier about how hard the fight has been to make some of the changes here at Metro. I still remember when I was a young legal aid lawyer, well, it was more than last week, we had to file a lawsuit against Metro because we were fighting to get them to allow the wheelchairs on the bus. I mean, that was my first fight with Metro. And just look at it now. We're talking about electric buses, and they will be accessible, and it will truly make a Metro for all, Mayor, because as Congresswoman Jackson Lee mentioned, while this may have been a letter that I pushed through and tried to get this grant, it really is all of us working together and all the people who sent support letters that get it done, because none of us can do it alone. And that's what we have to keep in mind, that everything that we do in this building is for everybody, because that's one of the president's highest priorities, is inclusiveness, equity, sustainability, and transitioning to help tackle climate change. And this grant and this $21 million going to electric buses will do all those things and more. And it's just the first step, because we did pass an infrastructure bill. We announced the telephone road project last week, but there will be more to come. And after the bill that we just passed last week, and the president plans to sign it this week, more will come, because we've got to be there, because we are the leaders. As I told the Secretary of Energy when she visited us some time ago, this is the energy capital of the world, and there is no reason that we cannot be the new energy capital of the world, because we've got the know-how, the innovation, the corporate support, the team players, the stakeholders. So as we do transition, we have to be ready. And the sooner that we get ahead of the game to make the changes that we will, working together with all of us. I know that there's a representative here for Representative Green. I know I saw Representative Fletcher earlier. Well, I saw her on Zoom on a call that we were on to talk about the Harvey GLO dollars. There's always things going on, but we always make time to come together for a redo. And that's what makes us strong. So again, it's $21.6 million. I'll try to make it an even 25 next time. And it's about electric buses. It's about doing all the things that previous speakers have said. So again, congratulations to Metro, and let's move forward, and let's keep going. Do not stop. Do not collect $100. Do not go to jail. Just move forward. Thank you all very much, and I yield back.
Thank you, Congresswoman Garcia. We look forward to coordinating with your office and all the other agencies. And yes, we're not getting hung up on 21. In fact, when the mayor is in the house at Metro, we should be getting hung up on the 4-4. So we'll go from 21 to 4-4 and add a couple of zeros as we expand on delivering on the promises of Metro next. Our fearless leader of the 4,100 plus strong Metro family, the President and CEO, Tom Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'll
just want to echo what Chair Rom has said, and I want to echo what the mayor and the Congress women have said as well, and it's about partnership. Mr. Mayor, I want to thank you in advance. Your team at Public Works and Planning and throughout the city have been tremendous to work with. So all the things we're able to do, that we cannot do them in isolation. So it's great partnership. We look forward to making sure we seize the moment. We're here celebrating the opportunity to really double the amount of electric buses that will be serving this community. And as you heard earlier, it's going to serve every part of the community. We want to make sure we have the opportunity to have our customers throughout the region experience the quality of ride, experience the comfort, experience all the things that we're going to see that are bringing value to this community. And we want to get their feedback because we'll learn lessons as we begin this service, as we expand to make sure the climate action plan approved by the board is fully implemented by 2030. As we look to the future, this gives us an opportunity to build upon that future where we're going forward. But it's not just about purchasing the vehicles, and as you've heard earlier, it's the infrastructure. The opportunity to train a workforce that can transition to support changing technology. So it's all about investing in our people and investing in our community as part of this effort going forward, and we're very, very excited about that. You know, we're going to put it, as Congresswoman Jackson Lee said, we're going to put it on routes throughout the system because we do want everybody to experience it. And so I want to thank the entire Metro team. You know, we do a lot of things, but it takes a lot of people at Metro to put these partnerships together, to put these grant applications together. So to the Metro staff that's been very engaged on this, thank you very much for all of you. And I'll simply close by saying I want to thank Chairman Rom. I want to thank the Metro Board of Directors that keep us focused on the things that we can do to make sure this community is better tomorrow than what it is today. And that's what we're committed to. And as you've heard earlier, the strong leadership of the city, the strong leadership of all of our representatives in Congress helps us do the things we're doing. And so to them, I want to thank you very much for your leadership and support. Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Lampert. I want to again thank all of our elected officials for joining us and for your continued support. This is just the big best is yet to come, and with that, we'll take any questions. Thank you all.